Hello there, everybody. Today we're going to be talking about Hiram Flaversham and I guess Fortisphere, which is not up here, but Fortisphere is banned as well. So we're talking about the ban announcements for Lorcana, which happened yesterday. First official ban.
Yeah, no, it's because they before they did Narada, which didn't go over super well. I was not a fan of their choice of that, but it seems like they've learned, which is awesome.
Red is always a bad idea, makes it confusing. What's the phrase? Reading the card explains the cards.
Yeah, usually that's supposed to be true, and
That's
Narada just
supposed to
makes
be
it
true.
hard to keep track of all that, especially when you can't take notes in a tournament setting.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this will be the first ban they've done, largely in result to Sapphire's just dominance as a color combination.
Top
Uh,
50, 48 of them are
yeah,
sapphire.
it's wild. And so with the Sapphire list, the challenge often comes down to this card. And I remember when this came out in set two, I think it originally came out. I remember looking at this card and thinking that this card was insane, mainly because of its ability to generate persistent card advantage while being really hard to remove. So if you're looking at it from there's no card outside of in Ruby that answers this card cleanly.
Yeah. I
That's
mean, Sisu's Dragon's Fire, and that's kind of about it. I
You
mean,
can brawl it
you can,
too.
oh, right, Barl, yeah.
You could like string together in a long King Zeus and something else
But
to
that's
take it
that's
down.
the problem. The other colors, like hitting something with six is it's just
So
so
hard.
so difficult to take out.
So out of range.
And then when you look at when it comes down to it in any TCG, what makes each color feel different, and the reason why you play the different colors is because each color has an identity with it that it has an archetypal thing that it does. And card draw is not supposed to be sapphire, but if you ask anybody who's played, they're going to say, "Oh, sapphire's card draw,"
Yeah, it's
mainly
blue.
because of
It draws cards.
it's blue. Yeah, so part of it might be a magic holdover because blue is card draw and magic. But a lot of it would also hang on the back of Hiram here because he's
Cards
just
insane.
such an insane card draw mechanic. But it's supposed to be Amethyst. That's the card draw.
You know, it's funny when we were talking about this, I didn't realize that the design space was that Amethyst was the card drawing
Amethyst is the
because
card
I
draw
legit
engine. Yeah,
didn't think about it not being Sapphire because
yeah.
I've played against so much Flaversham. Just like, oh, like Sapphire just draws all the cards. That's just how this works. And
And
popsicles and
and the problem becomes the just the amount of card draw you get off of a card like Hiram for something that's not supposed to be the card draw focus color, and then you pair that with ramp, you constantly have cards to ramp in your deck. So like there's just once you start drawing cards with Hiram, there's no stopping these decks.
yeah, because like a big part of how the ramp decks work in the Sapphire is that they're trading off cards for ink acceleration. So things like Tipo, one jump,
And you got to look in your hand and think, these precious cards that I could play and I might need to play, do I need them more as ink or do I need them as cards? And if you can just constantly restock your hand like three or four or five a turn, you don't need to make those decisions that
Well,
easily.
so many games you go turn one, your popsicle, turn two, ramp spell, turn three, Flaversham. At that point,
Draw three.
you've expended three cards,
Yeah.
you
And you've
know,
drawn three.
and you've
One for the
drawn three.
popsicle,
So
two for
it's
the Flaversham.
yes, and Flaversham will draw you more, right?
Yeah.
Because like Flaversham can't be easily answered by
Nobody's
most
taking him
things.
out on turn four or turn three.
No,
Yeah.
like, he's going to get a couple activations, going to draw you a bunch of cards, and he allows you to play things like Fishbone Quill, where you get to aggressively take cards and ink them. So you get to take cards, turn them into ink, and just sort of filter through your deck in an unreasonable speed. And so, because a lot of times you play in Sapphire list, and the Sapphire list should run into the problem saying, I aggressively inked very early in the game to get to late game threats much urgently than I should. And the downside of that is that I just don't have anything left after it's all done. I accelerated to six ink on turn four. I'm out of cards. I'm just sort of relying on the top of my deck.
And what so the design space and that what that means is you need that second color to get the card draw. So you either need to pair it with amethyst to get
Yeah,
the straight up card draw, the draw three, the draw five, the draw two, the whatever,
yeah,
or steel for the discard draw effects. And I'm counting a whole new world, not
yeah.
because
Whole
it's
new world.
discard
Because
here.
that was kind of what made the blue steel
Yeah,
decks good before, is that you would do all this acceleration, whole new world away, an empty hand, so you weren't down anything, and then you just kind of keep chugging along with seven new cards. Like that was the trade off of it. And with Flaversham, he makes so you don't have to worry about that trade off because he's just so consistent in getting you what you need.
so the nice thing about banning versus errating is in a couple of sets, if all of a sudden there is a get rid of six toughness card or whatever, not toughness, willpower, or playing Lorcana, all of a sudden you can unban him as opposed to just changing it. So it is
Yeah.
possible he could come back. But as it stands right now, with him being on like every single deck of like the top 10 and 20,
I don't think he'd come back anytime soon.
no, I don't think he's going to come back
I would
anytime
be
soon
I'd
either.
be a little worried about what gets printed to make him seem reasonable again.
It's a good point. That's another,
Like if he
every
if he
color would
if
have to
he's
get
if
something.
he's balanced and fair, I don't know what that looks like.
Yeah. Yeah. So
That's like a 10-year down the line sort of card, maybe.
so from the beginning, Hiram's been a problem because it does add that card draw mechanic to the not card draw color in a way that genuinely, like, we were both sitting there, be like, "Oh, blue's card draw." It's
Yeah.
not. It's
Yeah,
amethyst.
it's supposed to be amethyst.
Yep. So that's the gist about Hiram. Sorry if you're sad to see him go, but it did
I
have to
mean, I played
happen.
him a lot, and
Yeah.
I never thought that card was anything but just, like,
Oh, I
ridiculous
played him and
value.
I thought this is busted, and
Yeah.
that's why I was playing it.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
well,
was.
it's why you play good things, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you're playing the best of the curve, part of that needs to be an acceptance of that you're in a place that's gonna hit by bans. Like, if you're
Yeah.
playing the deck that is the best deck in the room by far, you can't be surprised when somebody goes, "Oh, this is just too consistent and too good."
Yeah.
Yeah, it's part of it. It's a sign that your deck was insane. Like, and you
Yeah.
get to play for X number of tournaments with it being insane and broken. Because it's not that they banned this now
Yeah.
before it got broken.
Yeah.
It's been broken. They're banning it now to fix it. That's the
Yeah.
difference, right?
So what I will say as well, because I've seen a lot of people online being like upset about the idea of bans, is bans are good, bans are healthy because they make it so that other decks are now going to be viable in the format. Steel Song was barely viable. I mean, some of the aggro lists could get under it, but not consistently enough. If you weren't playing blue, you weren't winning. And a healthy card tournament kind of meta does have more than one archetype in it.
Well, also the other thing is too, like, if you aren't willing to ban cards because they're too powerful, means you're in a design space where you're worried to print powerful, interesting stuff
Yeah.
because you are
Or
worried about the impact it might have.
or you're unwilling to admit that you were wrong. And it's okay to be wrong. It's okay to say, okay, the playtesting group thought that this was all right, but as soon as we put it out there to thousands of people,
It becomes
it's
less so.
become less all right. Yeah,
Well, but yeah, and you just let you like print powerful stuff, right?
yeah.
I'd rather them print powerful things that are interesting and engaging and let you do new stuff. So like Ink Geyser is one where it's like when that first got announced, people were like
Oh, and you
losing their
said them with
mind.
it.
But like it's done nothing at
Yeah.
present, so like but it's an
There's a lot of
interesting, cool,
cards where
powerful
people
card.
look at them and say, "Oh, this is going to be busted and broken."
And it
Yeah,
doesn't happen
no,
because like it's part of like the interesting part of like pushing powerful cards. So you
yeah,
need to have stuff like this, and you need to be okay with banning things
yeah,
if they're just oppressive, and that's okay. Like it's just part of the nature
totally
of
okay.
playing a game where you balance it and tweak it.
And it doesn't mean that every time there's a card out there that seems powerful, they're going to ban it. It's when it's in the top 50 of all 50 decks that it becomes a
It's
problem.
an
Yeah,
overrepresentation problem,
of multiple tournaments.
and I would also argue that there's a good argument to be said that like with a bigger return to like a worlds or a challenge circuit where you'd have like several thousand people,
Yeah,
that you would have stuff where you would find someone who solves it, right?
yeah,
The challenge is when you're having a 100-person event and this is sort of like a known deck that's the best deck.
yeah,
The challenge is that no one's really doing the work to figure out how to beat it. They're just playing whatever the best thing
yeah,
is for this 100-person event. And realistically, with this 1,000-person plus event, you'll find someone who finds a list that beats the meta,
yeah.
and then that gets picked up, and then it becomes more of a, oh, cool, this isn't as oppressive because there's a tried and true answer. If you want to beat this deck, how it works.
We also did say kind of from the beginning that card draw is exceptionally important,
Oh yeah,
and this is just an unbalanced form of card draw. So like you draw one off a popsicle, you draw two when he comes in. You're drawing one more off of the next popsicle you're playing, and then you're drawing two more off of Flaversham when he quests because
yeah.
nobody's taken him out before that. That is like six cards you're drawing, assuming you just get one activation from him, which is
And that you're only committing three
and
cards
you're
too.
only committing three cards to, yeah.
Is the key
So
element.
the fact that blue anything could go through three-quarters of its deck without trying much, and again, it's not the card draw color,
Yeah.
is a problem as far as design space goes. So I'm all for the ban. I think that it will shake things up and make things a little bit more interesting. I'm not just saying that because I like Amber Steel. I
I
genuinely
like
think.
Sapphire, and I'm excited to sort of play
Yeah.
non-Flourish based list.
Oh, we were looking through it today and we're saying, oh, the Queen might be good now and Oswald might be
I
good
think
now.
Maurice's Workshop is an
Maurice's
interesting
Workshop
option
might
for
be good
advantage.
now.
Like you'd still do
Yeah.
the item engine, you just have to like work
You
for
have
it a
to
bit
work for,
more.
and you should have to work for a little bit more.
You
So,
should,
so,
yeah.
so all of the cards that people saw when they came out and thought, oh, these are going to be real exciting, and they pale in comparison to Flaversham, they now become an
Yeah, you get
option.
more design space,
Yeah.
right? Like, maybe they pick up, maybe the deck just falls off, but like there's more stuff to build around. That's always exciting.
Yeah. So the next couple weeks will be fun to watch what people are playing, and if they're able to come up with a new version of Sapphire Steel,
Oh,
and
totally.
oh, they totally will be, and what other decks will come from will actually be able to stand a shot at.
I think legitimately, like the more interesting thing to talk about is the Fortisphere banning because that was something where I wasn't fully expecting it. But I remember when that came out, was it set two, set three for the Fortisphere?
4, I think.
Four. I remember that came out thinking that having 8 cantrip effects that you replace
Oh,
themselves was
yeah.
insane.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see that they've acknowledged that, especially with the printing of Bell, because like I don't think
Yeah.
Bell's a problem.
I think Bell's a
I think
problem when you
Bell
can
for free is a
consistently get it
problem,
for free on turn
especially on
1.
turn one. So if
Yeah.
you've got 8 1 drop,
And
draw
you're
effects.
pairing her with the removal colors then too. Yeah.
Oh, the fact you can sing "Let the Storm Rage On"
Yeah.
is just so obnoxious.
The other thing that I was reading the designer's notes on it is that steel is not supposed to be an item heavy color, and having
I
that
agree with
just
that.
pushed it into like steel became a lot more of of an item one as opposed to a kind of fighting resist and like the removal and
Yeah.
draw a card, discard a card effects.
No, I mean, I think that makes sense.
Yeah,
I think that, like, of all the things that, like, don't quite feel like they're steel-aligned cards, I think "Let
it's
the Storm
40.
Rage On"
No,
it
Fortisphere.
what's that?
Fortisphere is not steel aligned.
Well, like, I'm saying, like,
Oh,
for the steel, like, I don't think "Let the Storm Rage On" is really a steel-aligned card. The fact that it draws and deals damage, it
oh,
doesn't just, like, loot effect instead. Yeah,
yeah.
like, so I think it's one of those cards where, like, I think it gets a pass for right
I
now
think
and
it's a
probably for the
pass for right
future, but,
now.
like,
Yeah.
I don't think you'll see
I
steel effects like
like
that.
that again. No, that yeah, but it is. But I mean, you're getting cards for doing direct damage, and that is something
Yeah, it's within the steel
that is within the
wheelhouse.
steel wheelhouse. And every color needs to have a way to draw cards. It
Yes.
needs to pair with that color. So items for blue, straight up card draw for purple. Healing for amber. I'm going to switch to gemstones now. Draw discard
Yeah.
like discard effects or when your opponent draws for emerald. Yeah,
Yeah. But no, yeah, I think the banning of sports here is necessary just to
yeah,
kind of remove the oppressiveness of like turn one bell, like
yeah.
on the play. It's just
And seriously,
brutal.
since set 2, you've been calling him out and saying
Oh,
he's
he's
a
nuts.
problem. Yeah, yeah, he is nuts.
He is so powerful and so good
Yeah.
in a game where card advantage is hard to come by.
Oh yeah.
It's not like playing Pokemon where you play Professor Research and
Everybody plays
everyone
Pokemon.
draws 7 every turn.
Everybody draws 7.
You know,
Or what's the one who draws 5?
oh
You're playing her in your deck.
oh Caitlin, oh
You-
Carmine.
Carmine, yeah. So you did
Carmine's
like
different because she's meant to be played when you can't normally play her, is why. But like normally, you just draw 7.
but still, yeah, Pokemon has a lot of search
Yeah,
effects and card draw mechanics. Lorcana is a little bit more in line with the way that Magic does it, which is a little bit harder to come by, and you have to work for it.
yeah,
And so every color should have to work for it.
yeah. And I think just Flaversham's just too
Yeah,
high into the curve.
yeah.
He's too good,
I'm
and
excited to see purple become a little bit more card drawy because again, like their
I'm excited
card
to not have to be play my Stitch deck and not have to fight through infinite like just sweepers because my opponent can just draw 4 cards a
4
turn.
cards a
Yeah,
turn
and
and
just find
ramp
an
like 2
answer.
or 3
Like
cards a turn.
I would love to just like be like, oh cool, let's play like a more reasonable game where I can
Yeah,
actually like go off. It would be nice.
yeah. All right. Well, we've talked enough about the death of Hiram, so goodbye
I guess I'll
goodbye for
play
now.
casual.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing I was going to say. So if you play the deck box, he's not playable on Mondays, but he's totally playable on Sundays. So if you want to
Yeah,
on casual days, so if you want to bring him for stars or for 60 card multiplayer, totally good.
yeah,
Put your there unchanged. You can put those Hirams and those Fortispheres back in your decks.
yeah, totally. So Sundays they're good.
Yeah.
Monday competitive, not so much, and store champs, not so
It's
much.
not store chance, not so much yet, but casual, we're good.
Oh, should be fun.
Yeah.
See ya.
See ya.